All right, guys, welcome back. So this one is about the part 2 urinary system. In part 1, we described the entrance of this hiking trail. That's the glomerulus, the glomerular capillary, and the Bowman's capsule. So in the entrance, everybody in, right? So except those large stuff. So small stuffs, everybody in. And then just like hiking, you will see gradually that you have less and less people, right? So here in the very first segment, we will see a lot of stuff which was in the tubule and get reabsorbed back to our body. And so that's the proximal one. Then we have the loop handy. And that's these two portions. The major theme is the reabsorption. So we will look into these two portions in this part. So this is the nephron. Here is the renal corpuscle. That's the major function is the filtration. Everybody in. And as you can see here, that in the proximal convoluted tubule, a lot of work here is to conduct the reabsorption, because all these small stuffs are filtered into the tubule, and eventually they are going to be pee out. However, here, the only selection is that large stuffs remain in the blood, but small stuffs are filtered through. And that small stuff include a lot of good stuff, like glucose, amino acids, water salts, right? Glucose, for example, that basically you have to work to get the money and pay and get the food. And basically all our glucose coming up from our food. So that's the major source of our energy. And when you do all the works, get the glucose, digest it, break it down from the starch, large molecule to small molecule, you don't want to just waste it in the urine, right? You will want to collect them back. Amino acids, the same thing. That's the monomer of protein. So we want to collect them back because they are important stuff, very useful stuff for our body. Water is also very important, right? Because you have to drink, and it's not like you're living in the ocean. You have to dig a hole and get a well and get the water, or you have to go to a river, collect the water, right? So you do all the effort to drink the water. You don't want to just waste it. So we will preserve it. We will reabsorb them back to our body. We don't want to pee them out. Salt is the same thing, right? Sodium chloride, that we will reabsorb them back. Water salts usually come together because we want to maintain our body's osmolarity, that you don't want to just take the water to make the body to be diluted. So when water reabsorption, you usually see the salts reabsorbed as well, to kind of like maintain the interstitium or body fluid to be isotonic, that the osmolarity, the concentration is relatively constant. So that is the major work, major theme in the proximal convoluted tubule. And then we will have a sharp turn to the loop of Henle. In the very beginning, we talked about the kidney, right? That's a thing that you can see as a large organ. We didn't really spend time talking about all different anatomical features. But one thing I did emphasize is that kidney basically has two zones, two regions. One is the cortex, the other one is medulla. So, and that is very important. That is a very important feature, not just an anatomical feature, but they play an important role in the physiology. So you can see that for each nephron, we basically will have the entrance, the renal corpuscle in the cortex side of this cortex medulla borderline. And basically the proximal convoluted tubule will stay here a while, then there will be a sharp turn to the loop of Henle. And the unique part of this loop of Henle is that they dig into the medulla and coming back. So if you remember, if not, I'm saying it again, that the difference between medulla and the cortex is that medulla has high concentration. So this interstitium, this region is very salty. A typical osmolarity of our fluid, our body fluid, is around 300 milliosmol per liter. So that's what we have in the blood, in the plasma, in the cell. So when cells are located like red blood cells in the plasma, they are in isotonic condition. When the person inject the normal saline, which is 0.9% sodium chloride into the body, if we convert it, it's around 300 milliosmolarity. So, so that's isotonic. Now, in the medulla is unique that this region is not 300. It will go from 300 to 400 to 600 to 1200. Down here, deep down here, the concentration is about 4 times more than the concentration up here. So here you can see that this one has less water. The environment is very salty. Okay, so it's very unique area. And we have this loop of Henle going deep down into this region, very much like what's the very salty area in the earth, like Dead Sea, right? Is that the one, or Black Sea? I think these Dead Sea, I think so, right? In the Israel, that is like the region has a very high concentration, right? So we basically has hiking, like make a very sharp turn down to the Dead Sea, and then coming back. So this medulla, high osmolarity, high concentration environment plays an important role to provide the function of the kidney. Okay, so we will learn about it. And then we have this is proximal, close to the nephron, close to the renal corpuscle. And then here is the distal collecting tubule collecting ducts. Today, this portion we will finish. We will focus on this portion. We have the reabsorption as the main theme here in the proximal convoluted tubule, as well as very unique, very strange loop of Henle. Make a very sharp turn to the Dead Sea, okay? All right, so before we go on to that, let's lay some foundation, some fundamental knowledge. So here is the glomerular fluid will go from the blood into the tubule. If you can see here, this tubule is very much like a capillary. If we do the cross section, we see a single layer of the cells connect to each other, and these cells is epithelium. So the tubule basically is formed by the single layer of the epithelium cells. And in the proximal convoluted tubule, we have the reabsorption. That reabsorption basically is conducted by these cells. These cells has in this luminal side has this brush membrane, so it increases the surface to capture all this usable stuff. And when this molecule got captured, they will be transported back to our body, right? Like glucose. So just some very fundamental knowledge here, because we are going to say this over and over again, which is that in the epithelium cells, we have the luminal site. This is the luminal site or apical site. Apical site, luminal site has buried in different region will have different channel or different transporter to conduct the reabsorption or secretion. Basically, it's a molecular movement. They are all initiated here in the luminal site, in the apical site. So that is the terminology. When we talk about the luminal site, or when we talk about the apical site, the first image in your brain is that is the face, that is the site to face the urine, okay? And on the other end, we have the basolateral side. So this side, basolateral side facing what? Facing our body. Very quickly, they face the capillary, the blood vessel, peritubular capillary, to be more specific, next to the tubule, peritubular capillary. So, so that's the terminology that you need to keep in mind. We have the basolateral side that is facing the blood, the luminal side that is facing the urine. In the basolateral side, we always see, so cells all have this sodium, potassium, ATPase, right, to maintain this membrane potential to be negative. And in the epithelium cells, these sodium, potassium, ATPase are always located on the basolateral side. So here we always, cells all have this pump, this sodium, potassium, ATPase, but in the renal tubular epithelium, these sodium, potassium, ATPase are all located in the basolateral side. Okay, so that is the foundation. You just need to have the terminology that when we talk about the basolateral side, you have to think about that this is the side to face the body, and very soon they will transport stuff back to the blood. When we talk about the apical side or luminal side, you need to always think about this is the side facing the pee, facing the urine. So that's the terminology. Another thing is that all these tubules are made by the single layer of the epithelium cells, okay? All right, so this proximal convoluted tubule, the major theme is reabsorption. As we see here, glomerular capillary, here we have the filtration. What's the strainer of the filtration? The podocytes, right? So that's a quiz question. You must. No, because I don't think we have these cells in other part of the body. But when people talk about the podocytes, the first thing you need to kind of get to in your mind is that this is the glomerular filtration. This is about the GFR, okay? And here is the proximal convoluted tubule. Here is the summary of what's the most important essential portion got reabsorbed in this area. So we have sodium water reabsorption. Basically, when we reabsorb sodium, we reabsorb water. These quantity are relatively equivalent. It's because that when we reabsorb water, we will reabsorb sodium. And that's how we will not dilute our body, right? When we reabsorb salt, we also kind of like provide the gradient to reabsorb water. So, and that same thing, not to keep our body to be too salty, except the region that we talk that in the medulla. That's kind of unique area. Other than that, in general, when we reabsorb salt, the same amount we will use to reabsorb the water. So in the proximal convoluted tubule, it's about 2/3. Some say 65, some say 70. So roughly about 2/3 of the salts and the water here going through here are reabsorbed back to our body. So that's first thing. And we reabsorb 100% glucose, 100% amino acid. Because as we mentioned earlier, glucose and amino acids are essential nutrients to our body. And basically we reabsorb them within the renal capacity, meaning that if our blood has too much glucose, it will reach the maximal capacity and you will see some glucose in the urine, in the collected urine. And that's what happened to the diabetes patient. But in general people, we will not see that. We will have glucose 100% reabsorbed. We also reabsorb bicarbonate. Not sure if I mentioned this, but bicarbonate is an important buffer system in our body. So this one is important to maintain our fluid, our body fluid in the neutral range. So we need that. So we reabsorb 85% of the bicarbonate. One thing we will see is that whenever we reabsorb one bicarbonate, we secrete out a hydrogen ion. So we secrete H plus, as return, we reabsorb bicarbonate. So the majority, 85% are reabsorbed here. We also reabsorb about 50% of the urea. So that's the proximal convoluted tubule. So the very important one, the large portion of this absorption is the sodium. So let's look at the sodium reabsorption. How does it conduct? As we mentioned before, that we have the sodium potassium ATPase in the basolateral side. So it's right here. This is the brush membrane of the epithelium cell. And then here is the basolateral side. Very quickly, they see the blood. Here is the luminal side or apical side. So this one we mentioned that sodium potassium ATPase are located in the basolateral side. So this one keep working. And that basically provide two things, as we mentioned very beginning in our cell physiology, that sodium potassium pump has two consequences. One is that we have less sodium in the cell, right? Sodium all pump out. So sodium amount is very low in the cell. Second is that because the pump, we pump 3 out, 2 in, 3 positive, 2 positive in. And that lead to the negative charged membrane potential. So we have a negative membrane potential. So that's two consequences. Now, here, we use that to reabsorb the sodium, okay? In the basolateral side, we create that environment, low sodium and negative charge environment in the cell. In the apical side, we have a lot of sodium channel. This sodium channel is not just sodium channel. They are sodium co-transporter. Co-transporter with what? With a glucose, with amino acid, with vitamin. And so we want to reabsorb the glucose, right? We want to reabsorb vitamin and amino acids. So to reabsorb this, we need to have channel. And we need to have the power, right? Because we basically better to pump them back to our body. So the energy to do that is that here we have very effective way to do it, because here we don't really have extra energy. We basically use the energy provided the environment, low sodium intracellular condition, and that low sodium intracellular condition provide this sodium gradient concentration gradient. And that concentration gradient provide the driving force. So this co-transporter can be triggered, can be driven by the sodium concentration gradient. And when sodium coming in, they carry one glucose in, and then glucose got transported back to our body. When sodium coming in, vitamin coming in. When sodium coming in, the amino acids coming in. Okay, so that's how we reabsorb the sodium. We have basically the driving force is the sodium potassium ATPase located in the basolateral side. So these cells, these brush membrane epithelium cells have a lot of mitochondria. If we look into these cells, these brush border cells, we will see a lot of mitochondria because they need to work very hard to pump all these sodiums back to our body. And that is why these cells require a lot of energy. Renal oxygen consumption basically equivalent, proportional with the sodium reabsorption amount. And that is the major source or major region that we use our oxygen to generate the ATP. It's because that we need to, with this filtration energy, we take the mitochondria, the ATP generated by mitochondria are basically all used to pump the sodium. And the pumping sodium create the chain reaction that we can also reabsorb some other good stuff, including the glucose, amino acids, etc. So this is the engine to drive the function of the epithelium cells. The ATP, sodium potassium ATPase, is the engine to drive all this reabsorption process. So that's the sodium reabsorption. So you can see here is the sodium reabsorption. If we look at the sodium reabsorption, as we mentioned before, in the proximal convoluted tubule, it has about 2/3 of the sodium got reabsorbed. It's come with the 2/3 of the water got reabsorbed. And the remaining will gradually get reabsorbed, like in the loop handy, distal, etc. One concept is important to keep in mind is that this portion, 2/3, is a constant fraction. That no matter how much the fluid going in, you have 2/3 got reabsorbed. So this number is always constant. If you have high salt diet, okay, for example, I was from Taiwan, and I came to America in about 2002, something like that. So I've been here for almost 30 years, 20 years, sorry, 20 years. And the first thing I kind of like get shocked here in America, of course, there are a lot of like culture shocking, is that how salty the food it is here in America. I don't know how you feel about it, but I just feel like the food has taste. I mean, why do you want to make it so salty? It's either too salty or too sweet. And you kind of don't know what's the original taste of that food, because you basically, it kind of like stimulated by the salt part or sweet part of the food. And over time, I try to find something non-salt at all, right? Or I made it myself. So what I'm saying is that, yeah, we people eat like salty food, salty diet. And when you eat high salt diet, or you constantly eat high salt diet, you basically will have this salt 60% or 2/3 of it got reabsorbed. So even though you will also pee some more, but you also, a big portion of that is reabsorbed. And as we mentioned before, the amount of the salts got reabsorbed equivalent to the amount of water got reabsorbed. So we will have a lot of water coming with the salt, get reabsorbed into our body. And this water basically go back to our circulation and increase the venous return. Increase venous return increases stroke volume, increase cardiac output, and that increase the blood pressure. So high salt diet eventually will have the tendency to build up the higher blood pressure. It's not like must or always, but it has the direction is to increase the blood pressure. So just keep in mind that high salt diet is not good. But here, this portion is that you need to know this concept. This is called the glomerular tubular balance. The glomerular tubular balance means that the fraction of the salt get reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule is always the same fraction, is always about 2/3 of the salt. No matter how low diet you eat or how high diet you eat, no matter what the filtration rate is, no matter what the blood pressure it is, you have very much the same fraction. So this one is basically a way to describe the cellular feature of sodium reabsorption, about 2/3, which is very different from another feature, that is the glucose reabsorption. Because glucose reabsorption is not about percentage, it's about threshold. So basically within the threshold, which is about, in some literature, it says about 180 gram per milliliter, something like that. So within that threshold, you get 100% reabsorbed. So it's not like portion. It's not like 65% or 80% or something percent. It's that if your fluid has less than this amount, it's all taken, it's all reabsorbed. So that's the glucose reabsorption. So it's different from the salt reabsorption. Now, this glucose reabsorption are reabsorbed through two channels. The sodium glucose cotransporter SGLT2, SGLT2, and SGLT1. Okay, so you need to memorize that. You already know that we talked about that. This glucose transport, this glucose reabsorption is conducted by the co-transport of sodium. What you need to memorize here is 2 and 1. The first is 2, the next is 1. And the majority is 2. The 10%, 90% reabsorption is on the SGLT2. 10% is following the SGLT1. Okay, so that's what you need to memorize. Okay, so the question would be which the major transport for glucose reabsorption in the nephron? SGLT 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. You need to pick 2. Which one comes early? 2. Okay, which one comes next? 1. Okay, so that's quiz question. And 90% is 2, 10% is 1. All right, so, and it's threshold limited. If it's, as long as it's less than this amount, we got 100% reabsorbed. If not, if it's above, if it's exceed that amount, we will see the glucose coming here and then lead to the urine. And that's what happened to the diabetes patient. All right, so here is the SGLT2 and the SGLT1. Here is in the beginning, we have SGLT2. In the later, we have SGLT1. It's all sodium co-transporter. We talked about this one already. The engine to drive everything else is the sodium potassium ATPase that create the environment of low sodium inside of the cell. And that provide the force, driving force of the sodium diffusion back to the cell. And that concentration gradient will provide the energy needed for the sodium glucose co-transporter. Glucose get transported back to our cell. Okay, so that is the major function. Our body reabsorbed the glucose. This also provides the target of a drug to treat diabetes. The problem with the disease, the diabetes disease, the major feature is that our blood has too many glucose, hyperglycemia. So we want to kind of get rid of it. The way to get rid of it is that a convenient way is to block the SGLT2. And by doing so, that glucose will not get reabsorbed. 90%, that's a lot. So this way we can quickly reduce the glucose amount in our body. Because we block it, then glucose will not be reabsorbed, and they will go in here and get pee out. So SGLT2 inhibitor is a drug to treat diabetes. So this could be the quiz question, that SGLT2 inhibitor is a common drug for what, right? Is the drug primarily used to treat the diabetes mellitus. And the reabsorption of glucose is a threshold limit that, for example, that if our blood has about produce 100 milligram per minute, they will get reabsorbed 100. Normal, right? This is normal range. If our blood has too many, like 300, if it's sorry, here is the plasma. So plasma, if it's 200, then it quickly reach the threshold. And here is the one to see the excretion, that if we reach this threshold, we basically will have some nephron that reach its capacity, and we will see some glucose in the urine. Our whole kidney can still take more glucose. It's because that for maybe over this threshold, we start to see 1 or 2 nephrons reach its capacity. And then those nephrons will produce the glucose in the urine. So we see the excretion. But for some other 95% of the nephron, they still can take more. So we will see that the maximal reabsorption will occur later than the concentration that we see the excretion. Because over this concentration, even though we see the excretion, but for other nephron, they can take more. So we can see that reabsorption continually increase. But very quickly that they will also reach its maximal reabsorption. And then we will see the excretion continually increase. That's because all this glucose has in the plasma has reached its maximal capacity of the reabsorption. So that's a very different concept, that the glucose reabsorption is capacity limited. The sodium reabsorption is proportional, that it's always like 2/3 of the sodium reabsorption. As for the glucose, as well as amino acids, it's always 100% unless it's above this threshold. And the pathological condition like diabetes, we will see the situation that the plasma glucose is above the threshold, and some of the glucose will be reabsorbed, but we can only reabsorb this maximal amount, and the remaining portion will remain in the urine, and then we will see it in the urine. The glucose in the urine, this condition is called glucosuria or glycosuria. That is the term to describe the glucose seen in the urine. We can also artificially generate the glucosuria by taking a SGLT2 drug inhibitor. For the diabetes patient, we don't want to reabsorb this glucose because our body basically has too much glucose. This too much glucose in the blood can cause sugar cover to the endothelium cells to conduct a lot of this glycolysis to add this glucose decoration to the endothelium cells cell membrane. and that will cause the cell damage. So we don't want that. And the way to reduce the glucose amount in the blood is to inhibit the glucose reabsorption. And the way to do that is one way of doing it is to taking this SGLT2 inhibitor. And by doing so, we don't have the glucose reabsorbed. And artificially, we can generate more of this glucose in the urine and leading to the glycosuria. So that's the glucose reabsorption. And the next one is the amino acids. And the thing you need to memorize is that This is also conducted by the sodium co-transport. Bicarbonate is also very important. This is an important buffer system that our body use. So here is that you can see that with this bicarbonate, we can pretty much maintain our body fluid in a neutral level, kind of like keep it stable in that neutral level. And the bicarbonate reabsorption, the majority, about 85%, is reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule. And you can see that basically we reabsorb 99% of it in the nephron. So we don't really like waste all these products. So how does our body reabsorb the bicarbonate? So the mechanism is right here. As we kind of mentioned about it, when we reabsorb one bicarbonate, we secrete, as an exchange, we secrete one hydrogen. So in the basolateral side, we already know what's there, the sodium potassium ATPase. So it's right here. And then it creates the environment, low sodium. And then in the apical side or luminal side, we have this countertransporter. That is the sodium hydrogen counter transporter. Or sodium hydrogen exchanger, sorry, sodium hydrogen exchanger. And with this one, when sodium got diffused in due to the concentration gradient, hydrogen got transported out. Hydrogen then will meet with this bicarbonate to form H2CO3. And then this one will quickly got separated to CO2 and water. CO2 is a gas, and that can penetrate through the cell membrane. So it diffuses over, it meets with the water to form the H2CO3. And then CO2 and water to form H2CO3, it can happen, but to increase the production, an enzyme would be needed. This enzyme is called carbonic anhydrase. And that will increase the efficiency a lot. I don't quite get to remember the number, like 1,000 times faster to convert CO2 to H2CO3. I feel like this should be widely used for us to capture the carbon in our air, right? To reduce the production of the CO2 is a way to convert it to the H2CO3, and an enzyme that's commonly used in the biological tissue is the carbonic anhydrase. So that one will convert the CO2 water to the bicarbonate again, H2CO3, and then bicarbonate will be reabsorbed back to our body. So what do you need to memorize? Several things. One is that to get one bicarbonate, we have to secrete one hydrogen, one hydrogen. And the next thing is that the enzyme to convert CO2 to H2CO3 is the carbonic anhydrase. So that's how we reabsorb our bicarbonate. So just want to give you a little bit background about how our body maintain the body's acid base level. our body has three mechanisms to maintain the pH level. And one is the buffer system. Bicarbonate is a major one to maintain to maintain a stable pH level in our body. So we know that there are two important organs also participate to maintain the body pH level. One is the lung, the respiratory system. Because lung, to get in the O2 and breathe out CO2, by breathing out CO2, it reduces the acidic level. So that is a very important one. If our lung has fibers that cannot breathe out CO2, then we will have CO2 accumulate in the body, PaCO2 level gonna increase, and the hydrogen acidic level gonna increase. So that's not good. And the other one is the kidney. That's the one we are talking right now. Because when we reabsorb one bicarbonate, we secrete one hydrogen. So if our bicarbonate level is low, meaning that we didn't secrete enough hydrogen. That hydrogen remain in the blood, we will also see the acidosis, that high acidic level in the body. Okay, so we have two organs participate the maintenance of the pH level. And that leads to two types of acidosis and alkalosis right here. So if our body is acidic, it's called acidosis. If it's less or is alkalotic, it's called alkalosis. And that leads to these two types. One is called the metabolic type of the acidosis or alkalosis. Metabolic acidosis or metabolic alkalosis is caused by the damage to the kidney. Respiratory acidosis, respiratory alkalosis is caused by the damage in the lung, in the respiratory system. So when the body is acidosis or alkalosis, the next thing we need to ask is, how does it happen? And logically, the logical next step is to find out which organ is injured. Is that cause of lung or is that cause of the kidney? And so what we will do is do the blood test. We will do the arterial blood gas test, ABG. So basically we get the blood and then we measure the components in the blood. We basically will get these three things in the blood. First is the pH level. This one will give us the idea whether the body is acidosis or alkalosis. The next is PaCO2. This one is the partial pressure artery of the CO2 partial pressure. So this one will get the idea about whether this is caused by the lung or by the kidney. If the PaCO2 is abnormal, then this acidosis will be respiratory, or the alkalosis will be the respiratory. So this will be caused by the lung. We can also get the bicarbonate HCO3. And this one will give us the idea about, will tell us that the damage is caused by the kidney. If this is low, then it's acidosis because we didn't secrete enough hydrogen. If it's high, then it's metabolic alkalosis. So by getting the ABG measure, we can get kind of like preliminary diagnosis to distinguish what kind of acidosis or alkalosis happening in the body. Again, this is an easy quiz question. You will need to have this in your brain, and this is very typical. when people talk about this one, metabolic acidosis, alkalosis, you need to know that this is related to metabolic. It's not something else, but it's a kidney. It's easy to link the respiratory with the lung, but metabolic, you need to think about that's caused by the kidney, okay? Very important. I feel this is a very, this is very easy quiz question. All right, so that's the bicarbonate. The next one is the water reabsorption. Water reabsorption comes with the salt because when we reabsorb salt, basically we will provide that concentration gradient, that osmotic pressure to reabsorb water. So and that lead to this one important concept that the osmolarity basically very much remain unchanged throughout the length of the proximal convoluted tubule, proximal tubule, because we reabsorb the salt. In the same time, we also reabsorb the water. So this figure is from textbook, and showing you that in the beginning of the glomerular filtration, the concentration of different molecule for the glucose, amino acids, we can see that concentration drop from the initial. So this all normalized to the initial concentration. And you can see that it dropped from the original, say 1, dropped to about 0.1 by the end of the proximal convoluted tubule. 0.01, left about 1%. So can be neglected here. We also see the bicarbonate reduced because this is reabsorbed about 85% now, like 100%. But for the sodium and osmolarity, this one will very much the same because when we reabsorb the salt, the equivalent amount will be reabsorbed in the water. We reabsorb salt about 65%, right? Remember, about 2/3. But the bicarbonates 85, glucose, amino acids 100. So relatively, this concentration would decrease, even though water is also reabsorbed. Sodium water got reabsorbed in the same amount, in the same percentage. So they're dropped equivalently. Their dropping is equivalently in the tubule. By the end of the tubule, 2/3 of the sodium and the water are equivalently reabsorbed. So the concentration is not changed much. This is 2/3, but this is 85%. So their concentration drop can be detected. Glucose amino acid drop 100%. So their drop is way more. And we do absorb some urea, but that amount is less than the sodium. So we can see the concentration increase in the urine. Creatinine is the one that we don't reabsorb. So this one remain in the urine. So the concept here is that the osmolarity is not changed through the proximal convoluted tubule. The idea is that in the body, our osmolarity is 300 milliosmol, and that is called isotonic. And that isotonic solution, pretty much the same in the plasma, in the beginning of the Bowman space, and it's the same to the end of the proximal convoluted tubule. So they basically remain isotonic throughout the proximal convoluted tubule. And it's gonna change later, but in this portion, it's the same. It remains to be isotonic. There are other stuff also got reabsorbed. Okay, so it's not just the sodium, glucose, amino acid, and water, and the bicarbonate. Urea got reabsorbed. We have the concept called solvent drag, meaning that a lot of time when water, because 2/3 of fluid, that's a lot. So it kind of like collect all this water back to our body through the transmembrane production. Sometimes it's paracellular through this intercellular cliffs back to our body. So when water flow through this hole back to our body, they carry stuffs. They carry a lot of stuff. And we will see that potassium also got reabsorbed, sodium reabsorbed, chloride, glucose, amino acid, we kind of mentioned that already. Lactate got reabsorbed. Phosphate is also an important one. We didn't spend time talking about it because it's not like relevant, related to something that's in this course, but this is also very important, bicarbonate. So just give you an idea that the reabsorption is a lot. Sometimes, basically, a lot of these are usable stuff in our body. So that's the proximal convoluted tubule. The next step is so this one is a summary. The osmolarity remain constant, about 300 milliosmol. The next one is the loop of Henle. So this is one that the idea is very different, that they will turn into the salty area, this medulla. Okay. So loop of Henle has two limbs. It depends on the textbook. Some would say like 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But here we just say it to the major one. It is a descending limb and ascending limb. There are some like you can separate to the thick, thin, thin, thick. But here we just the main difference is the descending portion and the ascending. Descending is leaving, ascending is coming back. What's the difference between descending and the ascending? The difference is that, the major difference is that the descending limb is water permeable. The ascending limb is water impermeable. So here is permeable. The cell membrane is not too tight. It's permeable to water. Here is impermeable. So what's the difference then? Difference is that when they reach down to the salty area, here is high salt area, and here is permeable to water. It provides the force to attract water into our body. So that is very important, to reabsorb additional water to our body. And through this process doesn't reabsorb salt or something else, but this one, it doesn't really like forcefully or actively reabsorb water, but because of the environment is so salty, that provides the osmotic pressure to reabsorb water. And here, this portion is not. Basically, following this turning point, the remaining of the nephron is impermeable to water, except that the effects of the ADH. So without ADH, it's impermeable to water from this point on. Okay, and so here is the reabsorbed water. This is the portion that higher concentration in the environment driving the extra water reabsorption. So water got reabsorbed, the urine will get concentrated here. And then from the here on, it's salt reabsorption. So here, basically, because this one is water, it's permeable, the outside has the concentration of 1200 milliosmol. The concentration is equivalent here because all the water got drawn out, will make the environment inside here will have the same osmolarity as the 1200 milliosmol. So here it's very salty too. I mean, outside salty, inside also salty because water is permeable. Now from here on then, water is not permeable. And we have the basolateral sites to pump the salt back to our body more like obvious. And so we will see that salt get pumped back, salt get reabsorbed, but not water. When the solution has only salt got pumped back, but not water, we basically dilute the solution. We keep the water in, but we remove all the salt back to our body. So we basically will make the urine being diluted. And that is very important to know that this ascending limb is also called the diluting segment of the nephron. Okay, so this is diluting segment of the nephron. Here, this portion reabsorbs about 25% of the salt, about 10% of the bicarbonate. So that basically it is. The major function of the loop of Henle is that the descending limb is permeable to water. It will make the urine to be concentrated because the water is the same. Water component is the same in and out. So their density gonna be, the solution density gonna be equivalent throughout this tube down here. When outside has the density or concentration to about 1200, the inside here will be 1200 too. And from here on is water impermeable while we pump salt back to our body. So we will dilute the urine and this, so the descending is water permeable, water reabsorbed. The ascending is water impermeable and is the diluting segment of the nephron. So that's that. Basically, that's the key concept about loop of Henle. And that concept comes with the interesting feature that medulla is very salty. You will get to be familiar with the number 1200. That is way higher than the isotonic concentration, which is 300 milliosmolarity. So let's going to see what's happening here. So this is the loop of Henle. This is the kidney. We have the cortex, and here is the medulla. And the loop of Henle basically deep down into the medulla. Deep down into the medulla. Medulla has high concentration. In the cortex, basically, the concentration is equivalent to the isotonic. That's the same concentration in the plasma, in the proximal convoluted tubule. That is 300 milliosmol. And then the medulla will change from 300 down to about 1200. And in the descending limb, because the water is permeable, so the solution here will have the same concentration as the solution out here. So all these will have 1200 milliosmolarity. And that's how we kind of like reabsorb extra fluid back to our body. And to this end, we basically reabsorb almost like the max we can do. And we will also later will, because the fluid will continue flow here and back here again. Back here again, we will have ADH to open to reabsorb extra fluid. We will talk about this collecting tubule, collecting ducts later. In this loop of Henle, you need to know that the descending limb is permeable to water, and that will make the urine to be highly concentrated as the concentration in the interstitial environment in the medulla, which is about 1200 milliosmol. So in the descending limb is permeable to water, ascending limb is not. And that permeable to water will, outside environment will draw the water back to our body. So the descending limb is permeable to water, which will reabsorb. Here is the descending limb, will reabsorb 20% of the water. The ascending limb is impermeable to water. So that is the descending limb. The ascending limb is impermeable to water. Then what's the ascending limb? Ascending limb is to reabsorb the sodium. Here in the ascending limb, we want to talk about one channel that is unique, which is the sodium 2-chloride potassium co-transporter right here in the ascending limb. So this limb basically enhances the sodium reabsorption. Before, we basically only rely on the sodium, potassium, ATPase. And in the proximal convoluted tubule, we have a lot of sodium co-transporter here to provide a channel for sodium to be reabsorbed. But here in the loop of Henle, in the descending, we basically just give it up. We don't reabsorb the sodium that much. We let the water do the work. We reabsorb water. But in the ascending, we will start to reabsorb sodium. And that reabsorbed sodium is important because when we reabsorb sodium, we can make the medulla concentrated. So we kind of need that reabsorption of sodium to maintain the medulla to be very salty. And the way to do it is that in the luminal side, we have this sodium 2-chloride potassium co-transporter. So this is the quiz question that what is the major channel in the loop Henle to conduct the sodium reabsorption? And that is the sodium 2-chloride potassium co-transporter, K2Cl, sorry, Na2K2Cl co-transporter. That's driven by the low sodium in here. So this channel allowed the sodium to be transported back in. In the same time, chloride, potassium will get transported. And Na2K2Cl, basically the electric charge is the same. So 2 positive, 2 negative, and so that won't change the membrane potential inside of the cell. So that's one thing. And this one, later we will talk about the loop diuretics. We'll X on it to increase the urination. But at this point, we don't need to worry about it right now. We will talk about it in like 2-3 slides later. At this point, just focus on this channel, sodium 2-chloride potassium co-transporter. So that's in the ascending limb of the loop Henle. So descending, water, ascending, sodium. What's sodium? Sodium 2-chloride potassium co-transporter. So that's that. You also need to know that, sorry, that some other K-ion also got reabsorbed, but this is just, I probably won't quiz you on this one because that's a little bit too tedious. But some of you guys, if you know this, is good that which portion of the nephron reabsorb the calcium. Calcium is so important. It's in the loop and in the ascending limb of the loop. And magnesium is also very important. Where do we reabsorb it? We pee it out. No, we reabsorb it. Where? The ascending limb of the loop. And I won't quiz you on this one though, because I don't want you to give you too much of the pressure. But this one is the one I want to quiz you. Sodium 2-chloride potassium co-transporter. That is a channel for sodium reabsorption in the ascending limb of the loop of Henle. Why is that important? It's because this sodium reabsorption is the way to maintain the medulla concentration. Okay, how can we get this medulla so salty? That's because we have this pump here, sodium chloride 2 transporter to absorb the sodium back to our body. And that is needed because then it will provide the high concentration down to here, 1200. And when we have permeability of the water, water can get reabsorbed. So that's why this co-transporter is so important. If we block it, if we block this sodium 2-chloride potassium transporter, it means that we will not reabsorb sodium. We affect about 20% reabsorption of the sodium in the medulla. And that will affect the interstitial concentration. Say we block it. This is not 1200 anymore. This will be less. When it's less, it has less osmotic pressure to reabsorb water. Water will not coming out. Water will stay here. When water stay here, water will go in here and got pee out. And that way we can increase the urination. That is a drug for diuretics, that's right, diuretics. And that is a drug called loop diuretics. Loop diuretics block the sodium 2-chloride potassium co-transporter. And that way, by doing so, we affect the medulla concentration, we reduce the osmotic pressure in the medulla to attract water, water remain, and the water got pee out. Why do we want to do that? Why do we want to provide the diuretics to let the water pee out? A lot of time, this is to treat the heart disease because heart is already weak and we don't want to increase the workload to the heart. So we want to reduce the fluid. We let them pee out a little bit more. Sometimes we have the patient with heart disease that lead to the edema, fluid accumulate in the body. So we want to let them pee out. And this one can also use to treat hypertension because hypertension is high blood pressure, BP equals CO times TPR. And the way to do it, the way to correct it is to reduce CO. And the way to reduce CO is to reduce the stroke volume. The way to reduce stroke volume is to reduce the venous return. The way to reduce the venous return is to reduce the body fluid. And the way to reduce the body fluid is to let it pee out. And that is why we will have the patient to take the diuretics. And a very powerful one is the loop diuretics, because this one basically affects about 20% salt reabsorption. And that is very powerfully cause the purpose of the diuretics. This, as I mentioned before, that here is water permeable when in the ascending limb is impermeable to water, but we only pump the salt back. And so we see the urine will be diluted in the ascending limb. So the ascending limb is also called the diluting segment of the nephron. So loop diuretics is to reduce the amount of the sodium reabsorption in the ascending limb. Here we have the sodium 2-chloride potassium co-transporter. This block it, so it will, here is the urine side. When it block it, sodium will not coming in, will not coming to the body. If the sodium is not coming to the body, this is the indicate the concentration in the medulla. This concentration will be dropped. When it's dropped, it reduces the osmotic pressure to draw water back to our body. So the water will remain in the urine and remain in the tubule and the gut pee out. So that is the loop diuretics. We also here, in addition to all this, in the descending limb, we purposely secrete urea. So all the time we talk about is reabsorption. Here, one thing is unique is secretion. We do secrete hydrogen as the exchange for the bicarbonate. The major portion we secrete hydrogen for bicarbonate is in the proximal convoluted tubule. In the loop of Henle, we do secrete some hydrogen, about 10%, to reabsorb the bicarbonate. However, here we have one thing kind of unique is to secrete the urea. So its secretion is in the descending limb. And why do we need that? It's because that this is the loop of Henle. Come back here. We secrete urea back to the tubule. Later, we will see that this urea will then be reabsorbed back to our body. And you can see that urea, say we secrete it into the tubule, and then we reabsorb it. This reabsorption is actually a mechanism to increase the osmolarity in the medulla. And to have something to increase the osmolarity medulla is to use urea. And to get some urea is that you need to have it in the urine. And that's why we secrete here, purposely secrete it into the descending limb. So the thing you need to memorize is that in the descending limb, it's water permeable, it secretes urea through the channel called UTA2, the urea transporter A2. So that's the descending. In the ascending limb, it reabsorbs sodium through sodium 2-chloride potassium co-transporter. And that is also the target. To block it is to provide, is a target for the drug, so-called loop diuretics. And that's drug for treating the heart disease and hypertension. All right, I will summarize it in a note, descending, ascending, and you will see that it's very simple, only 2-3 things you need to memorize it, and that's it. And a good thing about the record, the good thing about the recording is that you can come back and then read it over again, right? So that's a good thing.